Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our story time today. Now, Foxy Loxy has chosen this today, and it's Mr. Wolf's Pancakes, and it makes you very hungry, let me tell you. You want pancakes after it, okay? But it's got a bit of a twist at the end of this story. It is written by Jan Fernley. I think she drew the pictures as well, so she's the illustrator as well. Enjoy and have a nice rest of your afternoon. See you later. Bye. Mr. Wolf's Pancakes. One day, Mr. Wolf was feeling hungry. He fancied some pancakes. Yum, yum, he said, licking his lips at the thought of a big pile of fresh, delicious pancakes. Mr. Wolf had never made pancakes before, so he took his big recipe book down off the shelf and looked inside. But the problem is, wolves can't read very well, and Mr. Wolf had trouble making sense of it, so he went to get some help from his neighbours. He called on Chicken Licken, who lived nearby. "Please, can you help me read this?" he asked. "No," said Chicken Licken, slamming the door in Mr. Wolf's face with a bang. "Oh dear," sighed Mr. Wolf. He sat down slowly, read the book, and worked out what he needed, all by himself. So he worked out he needed eggs, he needed some milk, and he needed some flour. Mr. Wolf looked in his cupboard for the ingredients, but he couldn't find anything that he needed. "I'll go to the shop," he decided, and he settled down to write a list. But wolves are not very good at writing, so Mr. Wolf called on his friend, Wee Willie Winkie. "You're very clever," said Mr. Wolf. "Can you help me write my shopping list, please?" "No," he said. "Go away," and he slammed the door shut with a loud bang. "Well, there's no need to be like that," said Mr. Wolf quietly. So Mr. Wolf sat down and tried very hard with his writing until he had made his shopping list all by himself. Now he needed to count out his money to make sure he had enough. But wolves are not very good at counting, so he went to the gingerbread man for some help. "Can you help me count my money, please?" he said politely. "No, I'm too busy to bother with you." And the gingerbread man slammed the door again in Mr. Wolf's face. So poor Mr. Wolf had to sit down and count his money. It took him a very long time, and he had to check it 3 times before it was right. But he did it, and he did it all by himself. So Mr. Wolf needed a basket to carry his shopping. So he thought Little Red Riding Hood might be able to help. "Please, may I borrow your basket?" he said very nicely. "I'm not lending my basket to you," said Little Red Riding Hood. "Now clear off." So Mr. Wolf set off to the shop without a basket. "I suppose I'll manage," he said. So off he went to the shop. He went along the street to the general store. And he got out his list and he looked at it, remembered what he needed, counted out his money, and carried the eggs, the milk, and the flour home, all by himself. Now, it was time to make the pancakes, but wolves are not very good at cooking. So Mr. Wolf called on the 3 little pigs. "Please, can you help me cook my pancakes? I'll share them with you," he said kindly. "No chance," said the pigs, slamming their doors with a bang, bang, bang. Mr. Wolf felt sad because nobody wanted to help him. Mr. Wolf went home and started to make the pancakes all by himself. Soon there was a huge pile of delicious pancakes on the table, all ready for eating. Oh, and they look very tasty, although one has landed on the picture. Now, as Mr. Wolf had been making his pancakes, a lovely smell had drifted out of the kitchen. All his neighbours could smell it and it made them feel very hungry. they wanted some pancakes too. So they decided to try their luck and they went to Mr. Wolf's house. They knocked on Mr. Wolf's door. "Give us some of your pancakes," said the rotten lot. Why should I give you any of my pancakes?" said Mr. Wolf. "Not one of you would help me." Well, we'll help you eat them," replied Mr. Wolf's neighbours nastily. "Anyway, we're not going away until you give us some." Oh dear, they're being very rude. Mr. Wolf thought very hard for a moment. There was only one decent thing to do. "Oh, very well then," he sighed. "You'd better come in." Mr. Wolf opened the door wide and whoosh! His greedy neighbours rudely pushed him aside and dashed down the hall. Mr. Wolf shook his head, shrugged his shoulders and followed them into the kitchen. And when they were all in, Mr. Wolf gobbled them up, snippity snappity, all gobbled up. And that was the end of his unhelpful neighbours. And then, with his bulging tummy not quite full, Mr. Wolf sat down to eat his pile of pancakes. And he did it all by himself. Goodness me. Well, there was nobody else around. And there he is, having a wee snooze after all of the food that he's just eaten. The end.